This video we are going to discuss what are lungs. The lungs are the primary organ of respiratory system in humans and most other animals including a few fish and some snails. In mammals, the most other vertebrates, two lungs are located near the backbone on either side of the heart. Their function in the respiratory system is to extract oxygen from the air and transfer it into the bloodstream and to release carbon dioxide from the bloodstream into the atmosphere in a process of gas exchange. Respiration is driven by different muscular systems in different species. Mammals, reptiles, and birds use their different muscles to support and foster breathing. In earlier tetrapods, air was driven into the lungs by the pharyngeal muscle via buccal pumping, a mechanism still seen in amphibians. In humans, the main muscle of respiration that drives breathing is the diaphragm. The lungs also provide airflow that makes vocal sounds, including human speech, possible. What is the morphology of the lungs? Humans have two lungs, a right lung and a left lung. They are situated within the thoracic cavity of the chest. The right lung is bigger than the left, which shares space in the chest with the heart. The lung together weigh approximately 1.3 kilogram or 2.9 libras, and the right is heavier. The right lung is slightly greater than the left lung. The lungs are the part of the lower respiratory tract that begins at the trachea and branches into bronchi and bronchioles, which receive air breathed in via the conducting zone. The conducting zone and at the terminal bronchioles. These divide into respiratory bronchiole of the respiratory zone, which divide into alveolar duct that give rise to alveolar sacs that contain the alveoli where gaseous exchange takes place. Alveoli are also separately considered as the functional and the basic unit of the lungs. Which divide where gases exchange take place. Alveoli are also separated present on the wall of the respiratory bronchioles and alveolar duct. Together, the lungs contain approximately 2000 kilometer, 15 mi of airway and 300 to 400 million alveoli. Each lung is enclosed within a pellular sac of two membranes called pleura. The membrane are separated by a film of pellular fluid which allows the inner and outer membrane to slide over each other while breathing takes place, without which much friction. The inner pelvis also divides each lung into sections called lobes. The right lung has three lobes and the left has two lobes. That's why the right lung is slightly greater than the left one. The lobes are divided into two parts. The lungs have a unique blood supply, receiving deoxygenated blood from the heart in the pulmonary circulation and then releasing carbon dioxide and separate supply of oxygenated blood to the tissue of the lungs in the bronchial circulation. The tissue of the lungs can be affected by the number of respiratory diseases including pneumonia and lung cancer. Chronic obstruction pulmonary disease include chronic bronchitis and emphysema and can be related to smoking or exposure to harmful substances. A number of optional lung disease can be caused by substances such as coal dust, asbestos, fiber, and crystalline silica dust. Diseases such as bronchitis can also affect respiratory tract. Medical terms related to the lungs often begin with pulmono, from the Latin pulmonales of the lungs, as in pulmonology, or with pneumo from the Greek lung, as in pneumonia. In embryonic development, the lungs begin to develop as an outpouching of the foregut, a tube which goes to form the upper part of the digestive system. When the lungs are formed, the fetus. Chronic obstruction pulmonary disease. What are the diseases that are related with with the lungs? First of all, we will discuss its function or structure in detail. The function of the lung. We are going to discuss the function of the lung. The main function of the lungs is the gases exchange. The major function of the lung is to gas exchange between the lungs and the blood. The alveolar and pulmonary capillary gases equilibrate across the main blood-air barrier. The thin membrane, about 0.5 to 2 micrometer thick, is folded into 300 million alveoli, providing an extremely large surface area, estimate varying between 70 and 145 meters square for gases exchange to occur. The lungs are not capable of expanding to breathe on their own and will only do so when there is increase in the volume of the thoracic cavity. This is achieved by the muscles of respiration through the contraction of the diaphragm and the intercostal muscles, which pull the rib cage upward as shown in the diaphragm. During breathing out, the muscle relaxing, returning the lungs to the resting position. At the point, the lung contain the functional residual capacity of the air, which in the adult human has a volume of about 2.5 to 3 liters. During heavy breathing, as in exertion, a large number of accessory muscles in the neck and abdomen are recruited that during exhalation pull the rib cage down, decreasing the volume of the thoracic cavity. Therefore, C is now decreased. But since the lungs cannot be emptied completely, there is still about a liter of residual air left. Lungs friction testing is carried out to evaluate lung volume and capacity. Protection. The lung possess several characteristics which protect against infection. The respiratory tract is lined by respiratory epithelium or respiratory mucosa with hair-like projection called cilia that beats rhythmically and carry mucus. This muscularity clearance is an important defense system against airborne infection. The dust particle and bacteria is inhaled air are caught in the mucosal surface of the airway and are moved up toward the pharynx by the rhythmic upward breathing action of the cilia. The lung also secretes some secretions that are called as immunoglobulin A, which protect against respiratory infection. Respiratory infection, goblet cell secretes. The goblet cell secrete the some agents that are antimicrobial compounds such as defenses, antiprostates, antitoxidant. A rare type of specialized cell called a pulmonary inocyte that is suggested may regulate mucus viscosity has been described. In addition, the lining of the lungs also contain macrophages, immune cells, which engulf and destroy debris and microbes that enter the lungs in a process known as phagocytosis, and dendritic cells, which present antigen to activate components of the adaptive immune system, such as T cells and B cells, the T lymphocytes and the B lymphocytes. The size of the respiratory tract and the flow of the air also protect the lungs from larger particles. Small particles deposit in the mouth and behind the mouth in the oropharynx, and larger particles are trapped in the nasal air infection after inhalation. Other, in addition, some other information. In addition to function in respiration, the lungs have a number of other functions. They are involved in maintaining homeostasis, help in regulation of blood pressure as a part of renin system. The inner lining of the blood vessels secrete angiotensin converting enzyme ACE, an enzyme that catalyzes the conversion of angiotensin. The lungs are involved in blood acids base homeostasis by expelling carbon dioxide while breathing. The heart also serves as a protective role. Several blood-borne substances such as few types of prostate gland, leukotrienes, serotonin, and are excreted through the blood, are excreted through the lungs. The lungs also play a vital role in speech by providing air and airflow for the creation of vocal sound and for the communication such as sighs and gasps. The lungs of the birds are relatively small but are connected to 8 or 9 air sacs that extend throughout mouth of the body and are in turn connected to air spaces within the bones. On inhalation, air travels through the trachea or trachea of the bird into the air sac. Air then travels continuously from the air sac at the back through the lungs, which are relatively fixed in size, to the air sacs at the front. From here, the air is exhaled. The fixed size lungs are called circulatory lungs, as are distinct from the bellows type lung found in most of the animals.